Hi. With so much public debate about the Black Lives Matter movement, white supremacy, and racism, it's probably beneficial for us to get a clear understanding about what racism really is. Most of us believe that racism is about intolerant individual attitudes about other groups of people. This is called bigotry. Anybody can be a bigot. It is rooted in prejudice, ignorance, and intolerance. But let's face this, most of us don't really hold those types of views. Most of us are not burning churches, driving cars into crowds of protesters, wearing funny hats, or pledging allegiance to violent ideologies. In fact, most of us don't see ourselves as bigots at all. We belong to multicultural communities, we treat everybody equally, but yet we're still called racists. And that's why it's really important to understand that racism is much more than just bigotry. If you add bigotry to power and privilege, then we are getting closer to understanding racism. Power is the ability to grant or deny access to others, to be able to direct and influence the people around you. In every sector of society, we see prejudicial structures of power that actively harm people of color and African Americans in particular. Codified discriminatory policies and voter suppression, media ownership and negative or underrepresentation, violent policing tactics and harsh penalties, lack of access to medical facilities and healthy food, draconian disciplinary practices in crumbling schools, and predatory lending and lack of access to capital, to name a few. And despite our best intentions to eradicate such systemic injustice from our institutions, they persist unaddressed in our society. So while power has to do with the structures of discrimination, privilege has to do with the culture of expectations, perceptions, values, and entitlements that often favor one group over others. While some privileges are certainly earned, like the fame one receives for being able to perform a skill at a very high level, it is the unearned advantages that cause problems, that some people receive preferential treatment because they are perceived to be more knowledgeable, beautiful, or powerful without actually having earned those benefits, and these benefits often come at the exclusion of others. Similarly, there are earned and unearned disadvantages. While earned advantages are basically the logical and natural negative consequences of one's actions, it is the unearned disadvantages that cause problems. That some people receive adverse treatment because they are perceived to be lazy, violent, or unintelligent based purely on underlying assumptions about other people. So power is established over time in our systems, laws, and institutions, and privilege is established over time in our values, culture, and beliefs. But haven't we changed so many laws? Haven't people's attitudes also shifted? After all, slavery ended like 150 years ago. Society is so much better today than it has ever been. While the Emancipation Proclamation ended slavery in 1863, laws and attitudes remained rigidly the same. The Jim Crow era of legal segregation that prolonged codified discrimination persisted for another 100 years until the Civil Rights Acts of 1963 and 1964. But even then, attitudes, habits, and norms continued unabated. To say that this nation was founded on slavery would be an understatement. Chattel race-based slavery in North America predates the establishment of the United States. In fact, the first enslaved Africans arrived in what would become the present-day United States in 1526. Chattel slavery served as one of the central economic bedrocks in the Americas for nearly 500 years. Those generational attitudes and harms do not disappear simply because a politician signs a document. So how long will it really take to undo 500 years of legal ownership and enslavement of other human beings? 500 years of codified discrimination, 500 years of annexation and appropriation of land and culture, 500 years of accumulation of wealth and privilege, and 500 years of the dehumanization and oppression based on race and ethnicity. So let's be honest about who we are and what we're willing to do. Sadly, some of us hold explicitly racist views and possess unchecked assumptions. Many of us believe in the equality of all people, but continue to benefit from the way things are, not yet ready to do the work of dismantling racism. And this is the work of an anti-racist. We speak up when we witness injustice. We actively find and support with dollars Black-owned businesses, enterprises, and organizations. We expand our alliances, support affinity and mutual aid groups, and extend opportunities through our network. We educate ourselves and engage in dialogue with others on these important issues. We also work on policy reform and political campaigns. We vote. We write, we paint, we make music, t-shirts, and posters. We are citizen journalists who publish articles with photos and videos and publish them online for everyone to read and see. And above all else, we must recognize and honor the contributions and sacrifices of Black people to humanity and civilization by ensuring that our systems, laws, and culture affirm that Black lives matter. If you have suggestions for future Educate and Agitate videos, please comment below. Thanks for watching.